Ask Reddit. What did a SO do that made you stop and realize they're not the one? Used her car as a ladder to break into my second-floor apartment through the window? Look at all my emails and instant message history? Break a bunch of shit and wait for me while crying to tell me she was pregnant, which turned out to be a lie, which I found out after she also lied about getting an abortion? My wife of 13 years and the mother of my 2 children, seemingly out of the blue, claims she had a spiritual awakening and can now see the future, communicate telepathically with animals, and can talk to angels. The angels told her to have an affair with another married man. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the guild. I appreciate everyone's concern for her health. We're actually divorced now. We tried to work it out, saw 2 different marriage counselors there the year following the affair. She had another affair, divorced me, and used her newfound physic powers to manipulate a judge to allow her to move over 3,000 miles away with my children. Edit. I was doing everything I could to save the marriage for my kids. I was desperate. I researched and considered the possibility of a tumor, mania, or schizophrenia, etc. But she would get offended when I would suggest a doctor and refuse to go. I reached out to her family, and her mom flew out concerned. But my ex put in a show. She told her family I was abusing her, so they excommunicated me. She had me served with divorce papers, but wouldn't leave. We cohabited for another 3 months after that, the most painful 3 months in my life. My youngest at one point told me I'm the saddest man in the world. Broke my heart to think my son thought of his father that way. The day we told the kids, they both started crying. I started crying, and they both jumped in my lap, and we held each other bawling. I looked across at her, and nothing. Just staring off in space, aloof. That would be the best way to describe her, aloof. Just removed, gone. That was 4 years ago. I'm doing fine now. Thanks for all of your concern and uplifting comments. Also, those of you shared similar experiences, thank you. It's nice to know you're not alone in your pain. But I'm doing good now. The only truly upsetting aspect is the whack custody situation, but I'm trying to work on that. She made me choose between being with her and being there for my grandfather, who was diagnosed with stage 4 Parkinson's. It wasn't a hard choice, Edit, because I've had a lot of questions about how this came about. We were together for 6 years when I got the call from my grandmother to move a state over to a beach town, no less, to help out at home and take care of my grandfather, who has slowly been losing himself. While I was getting up early to cook breakfast and help change him, I just helped roll him over and run his sheets through the laundry. I wouldn't actually clean any of him. Just a line I would not cross with the man I spent the majority of my life looking up to. She would be upstairs all day watching Netflix and complain about being bored, like she was forced to stay there all day. Regardless of how many times I told her she could go out to the mall, or take a vacation, or go to the beach, or get a job, her boredom was somehow my fault. This was exasperated when my grandmother broke her knee one night, so I was now essentially taking care of 2 children that were over 3 times my age. About 1.5 years passes, and she gives me the ultimatum. She's leaving, and if I don't go with her, it's over. I thought about this incredibly hard. She was my high school sweetheart, and the only girl I've ever really had a meaningful relationship with. In this time, she had already moved back into her parents' house, and so one day I called her to let her know that it just wasn't going to work out. If I left my family high and dry like that, I could never live with myself, and broke it off. Took him to urgent care one night about midnight. He had bronchitis. We didn't get home till 2 a.m. I got up a few hours later and went to work. He was a baby for a week, but made a swift recovery. 2 weeks later, I was running a fever and miserable. He wouldn't take me to urgent care. I could barely walk a straight line. When I finally get to the doctor, I have a double ear infection, strep throat, and walking pneumonia. It took me 2 months to fully recover. Asswipe. My brother asked me what I saw in her. I gave him a generic answer, and he dropped the subject, but it really got me thinking. He never questioned any of my previous relationships, and wouldn't have questioned this one either, unless, upon rational retrospect, I realized she was an egomaniacal bitch, and I was her bitch, always making excuses for her actions to myself subconsciously. When she deliberately got me and my friend, let's call him John, beat up, went to a party she was attending, per her request. Get out of the Uber, and 15 to 20 guys approached me and my friend, yelling the same question, "You like to hit girls, huh? Never have crossed that thought and absolutely despise domestic abuse, but she intentionally told every guy there that I hit her regularly. Not sure what her motive was to this day. The guys proceeded to attack me and John before a buddy of mine, who attended the party, stepped in. He drove me and John to the hospital. Just a concussion and a swollen face. Later did I decide she isn't one. I dated this girl for 10 months. We got into an argument one night while driving, and I pulled into her driveway. Took the key out of the ignition and had it in my hand while we talked. I was scratching under my bottom lip with the key and she swung at my face. Ended up catching my hand with the key and putting my car key through my bottom lip. Kicked her out of my car and drove to the hospital. I can't remember the exact conversation, but my SO stood up and yelled at my grandfather that he was stupid and didn't know what he was talking about when he asked something about her job that he used to do when he was a kid. She proceeded to just be rude and tell him how he was losing his mind. A quick Google search answered his question and showed how she was wrong. I was the bad guy at that point. On the way to her house, we broke up. Never disrespect your or someone else's grandparents, especially when they ask a basic question. Edit. I don't remember the exact question, but my SO worked for an airline loading luggage, and my grandpa did something similar when he was younger. She told me about the time she got so mad she crushed her pet bird to death with her bare hands. You know, because we all get so mad, you just need to feel the death struggle of a small, innocent creature. Edit. I've been asked a few times, so I will just add it here. She was 13 or 14, so she definitely knew what she was doing. She also admitted to doing this with animals other than her bird, including bunnies, a fish, and a dog. Edit 2. She was 13 to 14 when she did this. We started dating later on when we were 19. Couldn't accept the fact that you can work from home and was constantly nagging me to get a real job so we can get married, despite the fact that I was making about double what she did. Well, now I'm making 5 times what she does and am still in my underwear for the majority of the day, so fuck her LOL. Come on, got her a dozen roses for some occasion. She proceeds to call me about an hour later, asking what the meaning behind me buying her 11 roses. I explained it must have been a screw-up at the florist, and she says, "That's okay. Local town florist has single roses you can buy, so just go get one of those and bring it by to make an even dozen." I asked her how she realized it had 11. She told me that her and her mother counted to make sure I had got enough. At that moment, her whole family came into perspective for me. Her dad was a lawyer who had a trophy wife, just a little past her trophy years. He frequently went on surprise, overnight business trips. Her 22-year-old sister was getting picked up from the police station at least weekly, which somehow never led to charges. Her mother, who was all but ignored by her father, would shower any guy brought home over the age of 15 with affection. The LSO in question had jokingly told me of her plan to go to college, find a rich guy, and marry him. Thank God I got 11 roses once.